Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Old World Tournament. We are live once again with Moroten versus Blaj, Egypt versus Syria. Very, very happy to be back in this matchup. Well, I'm just getting set up here for a moment, so if you'd give me one moment. What am I doing here? Right, so, Moroten vs. Blaj, this is part 2. This is an elimination match. And we had some early conflict all around Tushan and invading Teramu. Early aggression from the Assyrians, a kind of a bit of a rush. A little bit of a rush, not quite, but we had a commander, and there was some clearing, and both players met in the middle. At roughly the same time, Egypt popped up here, and the Assyrians chose to aggress and pursue into Taramu. And then they hit a bit of wall. They they took out some kills here. Let's take a look. If we take a look, we will see that the Egyptians have lost 10 units, and quite a few of those were mercenary tribal units that they purchased using legitimacy as the orator. So that was a bit of a setback. However, now we are in a situation where Egypt has 4 laws, 5 cities. I believe Assyria has just settled their 5th city. So really, things in Egypt are looking fine. Their economies are similar. Slight edge, I think, to Egypt, maybe. I don't know, plus or minus the gold situation, but the science is fine. The civics is fine, and yeah. So there's more opportunity clearing down here. So yeah, Egypt is fine. Egypt seems to have responded well to that early aggression, adapted nicely, built up some early units to respond. Again, they have lost a grand total of 10 units. Where are they? 10 units to Assyria's 2. That is a bit of a setback, but again, a lot of those were barbarians, tribal units. And so Moroten just kind of dug his heels in and kept chugging along and kept minding his own business, and now he has a nice, healthy-looking empire ready to go. I am just going to take one step back from my computer real quick just to make sure I can set up chat. And then, yeah, we'll just keep casting this game. I am here. Just need one more minute. Apologize for that. Getting the last bit of setup here. Wasn't completely prepared to stream this game, but here we are. All right, we should be good to go. All right, we are strapped in. We're getting Phalanx on the Egyptians, which is a nice enough grab early on. And yeah. All right, so yeah, we have a decent economy going on. We're getting phalanx. Where else are we in the tech tree? We do have 4 laws. Our 4 laws are labor force, navigation, aristocracy, and the free divine rule from citizenship, which is a nice grab for us. So there's still lots of room for growth on the law front. We can run up to rhetoric. We can run up to sovereignty. And monasticism is always a good grab. We have spoked wheel flagged here, which I don't hate that as a grab. Will give us a free light chariot for the Egyptians, another mounted chariot for routing in case we're worried about rams showing up. But again, Assyria only has the one law. I believe they brought in clerics. No, they didn't. Oh, right. Remember, they brought in patrons. I was happy about them putting our patron seat up here. So that's always neat. Yeah, so I think really at this stage of the game, we do have a zealot on the throne now. That's always nice to have. What's our religious situation at the moment? Well, since we have divine rule, we can actually adopt paganism state religion if we want to get some early access to rushing. We have our pagan faith in our 3 seats, so being able to rush is quite quite a nice thing to have if you have a zealot on the throne. You can rush out units, or you could rush out expensive long build time specialists. That's always an option to do. And let's take a check-in over here with the Assyrians, see how we're doing. The Assyrians have just had an earthquake. That's always annoying to deal with. They're building a miner in the capital, stone cutter in the patron seat, and a couple of workers coming online. Let's take a look at the worker stat across both factions here. 4 workers for both factions, so soon that will be up to 6 for the Assyrians, and looks like we'll be at about 6 for the Egyptians as well. So really, both empires are keeping a nice pace, which is really great news for Moroten since he was attacked early. Blaj went in with that commander aggressed very early on and killed quite a few of the mercenaries. Egypt tried to showcase a fun, cheeky orator mercenary strategy, and Assyria was able to shut that down pretty quickly. So most of the mercenaries in Assyria are dead, with the exception of this Javelineer, 6 strength unit, and I believe that might actually be the only merc. Yep. So how many mercs were bought? Moroten bought 7 tribal mercenary units, and 6 of them were killed. That's always a big bummer, especially when you're spending legitimacy on that. Always annoying. This is some aggressive posture up here. I'm pretty sure this site is going to be free for the Assyrians to clear. They can't contest that from Egypt. Assyria has some decent vision here. I really would like to see them get up on this hill. Get a sense of where their opponent is in that area. Should be an interesting match. I think Moroten did a very good job of kind of bouncing back. Probably came up here with this warrior to see if there was another site up here, would be my guess. What is our grove situation? We have one here, one there. So not really a lot of land consolidation consideration. We do have camels on the map. Watch out, they spit. More camels over here. So Assyria is deciding to make their way into the south and clear as well. So that's pretty nice. They should be able to do that, I think. Of course, Egypt is in a better position, in my opinion. They already have this site cleared on their side of the map. Be curious to see if they keep going into this valley here. They do have the ambition to kill 5 Numidians. I don't think that's going to happen. They have 19 years. It's only 3 Numidians on the map, and they kind of have to rely on spawning, and they're just not going to spawn. So the trick is you're going to have to kill these outside camp units and then wait for the camp to respawn. So that's always annoying. These kill 5 units of a particular type, depending on the layout, like Scythians would be easy, right? But depending on the layout of the tribe, it can be a lot trickier than you expect. Do we have a zealot on the throne? So plenty of good fatigue. Why? I wonder why I'm not seeing that. That's weird. This is us, but I'm not seeing that reveal for some reason. Huh. Weird. There it is. Nice. Finished one stonecutter. Can get another one in just 2 turns. Very, very lovely. We have took a little bit of a science dip here with the Zealot on the throne. We were at 31 and we dropped down to 24, so that's a pretty decent dip for the early part of the game. As Assyria, we do have forestry on the docket. Some really good forests all around here, nice along the river, some quite along, nice along some camps here. So, that's nice. All right, we're going for ironworking. Makes sense. Having some warriors in these woods would be nice. Relying solely on slingers in such a heavily wooded map is not always ideal, but I mean, of course, they can pack a punch, you know. This slinger right here that's well promoted. It does have ranger, though, mind you. Still do 4 damage to a warrior, but conversely... Oh, actually, it will only take 4 damage in its commander state currently. So, yeah. Promotions can often be something that players can overlook in terms of just how powerful the raw damage output of a particular unit can be if it's well promoted enough. And of course, Assyria benefits from those crits, so Assyria is one nation to watch out for when it comes to facing an opponent with heavily promoted units. Certainly a threat and danger there. Yeah, they should have no problem clearing this. This is 8 damage and it doesn't even have steadfast, so... Yeah, pretty solid. Pretty solid damage all around here. Maybe get Highlander, hop up on this hill. In fact, he wouldn't even need to, just hopping up on this hill. No, Highlander would make him do 11 damage, and then this would do 9. So you could... I try to kill everything in as few hits as possible, which obviously makes sense. Looks like our players are both running down the clocks on their turn. I wonder if I could click this button to give people more... I can pause the tournament, the timer. It would be funny if I can give people more time. I kind of want to test that, but obviously I do not want to meddle with somebody's game. So that would be funny if that were possible. Alright, we are coming down here and clearing out a barbarian. So let's take a look at the exploration. Egypt has explored the majority of the map. And if we hop on over to Assyria, they, I believe, are just getting into the lower half with their tribal clearing expedition of a couple of slingers right now. All right. Really, I wouldn't be surprised if we see our fellas build up a little bit. That's gonna... I don't think Egypt is is going to be in a position to aggress against the Assyrians anytime soon. Although they're building their garrison now, they will have their light chariot, the ability to build their light chariots soon. So they probably want to build a decent amount of food. To make that possible, get some training in the city. Do they have any training? They have military drill now flagged. That does make sense. Trapping into mill drill. I don't like delaying trapping too much, because it really, 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 really sucks to fight a battle without ranged units. It happens to me all the time, because if you play an ironworking nation, it can be very easy to forget to go straight for trapping. So I've honestly just been making it a habit of mine to in these duels to just say screw it and open with trapping directly, almost regardless of the situation. Not always, right? Couple marble in the capital will push you towards stone cutting, but actually no, a few of the ironworking nations do start with stone cutting. Egypt, Greece, and Rome all start with stone cutting, but not slingers. So that's more reason to just go straight for slingers, because you can afford them too. You can build a couple of quarries pretty quickly. Oh, and we're going right in for an attack. More aggression from the Assyrians, and this will go down, I believe. Okay, so this is great. Blaj is saying, no, I have a really cool commander, and I'm going to use him, goddammit. So we'll see what the reaction here is from the Egyptians. The Egyptians do have a little bit better of a military now, but it's further away. What's our power score? Because I believe at one point Egypt was stronger. No, they are now similar now. All right, so he's deciding. He knows the city's developed. He knows its riders. He knows it's building a garrison. So he is saying, screw you. You are absolutely not getting your unique unit onto the board. Love this aggressive play. We'll see if it pays off long term. Definitely is a risk. But certainly, if nothing else, maybe you do this and you set them back. If you can get a good retreat without losing too many or any units, even if you don't decide to continue pressing on here, I think that's decent. You basically spent the orders on your turn to delay your opponent by several turns on their unique unit timing. So definitely don't hate that. Again, we'll see. We'll have to see if it actually pays off. But like the thinking, like the aggression. There is a risk here that Blaj is leaning too heavily into aggression and not keeping his economy. Well, I mean, his economy's online, so the only thing to worry about here is something like science, right? But his science rate is decent, especially now that that zealot is on the throne. So that's what you'd be worrying about here with the zealot, right? Is that if that zealot gets out onto a unit, then we're looking at a couple of enlists, and that is a yucky scenario because you don't want to hand your opponent more units. So it looks like we're going to lose a slinger here. But again, so far, I don't necessarily hate that. Especially because if he keeps this here, we could probably... I think we could kill it and still give ourselves a way out if we're willing to sacrifice this scout. Put the scout here, put the other slinger there, put this guy here, and then I think we have a way out. Should be interesting. Alright, we have zone locked this slinger in, so this slinger is definitely dead unless we can do some crazy shenanigans with our stuff. In fact, let's see, 6 damage, 9 damage. No, that warrior's gonna die. If all these guys attack, then that warrior's dead. So we'll see if Blaj is feeling thirsty here. Thirsty? I don't know what that means. Bloody? Aggressive? Combative? Vicious? Any more slingers nearby? No, not really. So then the question, okay, all right, I was gonna say. So this is again, this is why I think this is a win, because that was one turn away from being finished. Now you have to start it all over again. You're still gonna heal this guy up. Have to heal this guy up another turn too, right? So you just delayed the garrison, not even the stronghold, the garrison, by like another 5 or 6. No, another 6 or 7 turns. I think 7 is the exact amount by doing this. So if you trade a slinger for that, not necessarily the worst. I couldn't tell you if it's 100% optimal here, but he really can take his battalion here, sacrifice the slinger, head back into his woods, and the main thing here is that Egypt is not in a position to aggress after him. So trading a unit here in this situation doesn't really lose Assyria anything in terms of Egypt taking the fight to Assyria. So you kind of keep your scout in this region, and if you just do this every time, I mean, I'm sure, I would like to think Moroten will not let this happen a second time. I think next time he goes out to build a garrison, he'll put a unit on top of. Although he did, actually. We killed a warrior. So he did do that. Yeah, so interesting things happening here. All right, we'll have to bring that to Mohawk's attention. Oh, we are going for the kill here. Love it, love it. So this unit can die. We will have traded a... This unit will also die, so we'll trade a slinger for 2 warriors. The 6 strength javelineer is back in Teramu. So that's definitely going to be something to have to worry about. And maybe we'll see some backline reinforcement. Yep, and there we go. So that's... Oh, we can get out! I did the math on that wrong. Great. It's always hard to predict with the, you know, the bonus flanking there. So now this guy can actually get out, which is amazing. So we've now just killed 2 warriors and have lost nothing. Nice. Well done, Blaj. Maybe we pop him back in these woods, heal him up, and then bring this slinger forward. I think that's perfect. Yeah, that will give us exactly enough orders. We can come back here and heal. That would be 5 orders. Leave us with 5 orders left. Yep. And then bring this guy all the way forward. Aha! Moroten is being introduced to the wonderful flanking ability of the commander, who is now severely ill and doomed. So that's the last strike of our commander. But we should, I suspect we should be able to escape this fight. He comes up here. Now, of course, Blaj does not have to inform his opponent why that's working that way. He can if he wants to clarify. But it is a tournament match, so if something happens and you're not, you know, familiar with the rules, then unfortunately that's just what you're going to have to deal with. You're going to have to deal with being a little bit confused. Now, I suppose if there's a circumstance where someone suspects foul play, but it's, I don't know. I don't really see anything like that happening. I don't think you can do that in the game, really. Certainly, at least, I don't think not in real time. Yeah, so basically, he's just... Oh, we do have a potential route up here. Would love to see what this is, what's going to happen here. Moroten... I mean, do you want to trade a chariot, though? Because if you lose the chariot, that would also suck. But you could take out... It's... Blaj. Don't chat about it. Just keep playing. You don't know, you don't know. Yeah. So Blaj did inform his opponent what went down. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. You can choose to be a bit sportsmanlike and give people a heads up, or you could choose to be more aggressive and say, well, if you don't know how the command works, that's on you. Knowing my style, as I would tell the person, very likely, unless it's somebody. Basically, I change how I play depending on who I'm playing. If if the opponent is very, very tough, then I might be like, too bad. But most of the time, I'm happy to share information openly, even if I'm actively playing a game. I don't really, I hate to admit it, but I don't really care that much. I love playing the game, and I'm happy to play with people. Multiplayer turns out to be a lot of fun. I didn't expect I would like multiplayer as much as I do, but I do. It's quite a hoot, but I don't take it too seriously. Of course, it always does suck to lose. It can feel bad to have a game go south. Or to mess up. I actually think that's why I like network play more than anything. I actually like the fact that we can mess up. because I make misclicks or I misjudge something, and then you spend the orders on doing it, and then oh, too bad, and then your opponent gets like a really nice counterattack because you messed up. And to be honest, I love that. I've decided that I'm addicted to that, and I've forgotten about that in strategy games because I've been playing primarily old world for the last 3 or 4 years. Shino says, if the person I play against my. So he's saying if somebody asks him about what happened and it's a rules mix up, his default response is, it's because you've lost the mandate of heaven. I like that. That's funny. Mohawk needs to put China in the game. But anyway, yeah, no, I've decided that the biggest thing, ironically, somewhat ironically, that makes me addicted to network play specifically is I love making mistakes. And I love how you just have to sit with the mistakes. And I've been playing Old World for 3 or 4 years now, and I've kind of forgotten that was a key element of this entire genre of gaming, strategy games in general. Both, and regardless of what type, right? You figure grand strategy, right? Like Europa Universalis. Like, sure, you can pause to do all your moves, or like, that always confused me, by the way, because it's effectively a turn-based game, because you would just pause, do all of your shit, and then let the time run out for, a minute, and then like pause when you had to do other stuff. So you're essentially just taking turns. But anyway, I digress. That's a game where you do stuff and then the game keeps going. Real-time strategy is a really good example. Obviously there's no turns in that. There's no saving and reloading. So you just make all your actions, and if you misclick, and you can especially misclick in a turn-based strategy, you're trying to move your unit over here, but you click here, and so he goes in the wrong direction, and it hits by some type of AoE or whatever, right? But then even the entire Civilization franchise. None of those games have ever had undo. And of course, there can be like save scumming cheese type stuff, which, we've all done it. Anyone who says that they don't do it is 100% full of shit, and I do not believe them. To be totally honest. Of course, they might play some games like that, but absolutely people have saved. And every strategy game player in the history of the world has saved and reloaded a game when something really shitty has happened. But anyway, point being is, sure, yeah, you do that a little bit, right? But ultimately, you're not going to do that for the tiny mistakes. You're not going to do that for a misclick, or if you forgot to kill, or if you didn't get one of the kills that you wanted to get. Like, you're more likely to do that for like a catastrophic failure, right? So yeah, anyway, ranting, that whole rant is about the fact that I have completely missed how crucial to the experience of strategy game play it has been to just be able to make the simplest mistakes. And I'm really, really, really enjoying it, both playing it myself, but also watching players who are all, decent enough at this game. They're all pretty, some are newer, some are less experienced, but everybody's playing decent enough. But yeah, you have just moments where it's like, you can't plan an attack out perfectly, and that's okay. If that gives your opponent an edge, fine. Whatever. That's part of the game. So we did get out. We got a couple of kills, and we've retreated. So that's a huge win. We got 2 kills there. We forced our opponent to react, right? Spend their orders to get back into position, securing no kills for themselves. Wasting orders to heal up this worker. And so now, I think that building, that garrison would have been finished maybe 2 turns ago. So turn 37-ish. And we would have been started on our stronghold, because we have developing culture. So now we're going to have to wait another 5 turns. So our stronghold would have been done on, let's call it turn 42, right? So because of that little incursion, we're looking at a stronghold showing up for Egypt somewhere around turn 48. So it's a 6-turn delay. And of course, with all this units here, we can try to pressure that again. Of course, we have lost our commander, so a little bit of that oomph has gone. What do... Yeah. Yeah. So we have a comment saying that's the second time in this matchup that Blaj has attacked and got units out of a situation that they thought, the commenter, was lost. And so they're saying that Blaj seems to be a good tactician. And I agree. He seems to be doing all right. And, you know, the only thing that you really want to be cautious about in these types of situations is that you want to make sure that the harass that you're inflicting on your opponent isn't just giving them time to build up. And I don't think that that's the case here. I'm not claiming that that's the case here, because we have decent science in Assyria. We have a decent econ in Assyria. We're still able to get set up. Our worker count is similar. Our city count is now similar, although there's one up on... oh, no, they're both similar now. They still both have 6 cities. But, you know, seeing 4 laws on Egypt is certainly terrifying, which is very likely why you saw that little incursion there, just to buy himself a little bit more time before we have light chariots zipping around the map. Definitely don't want to have to deal with that. Egypt, that's one of the more annoying unique units in the game. They're so hypermobile. They counter spears well enough. Spears will do full damage to the light chariots, so they're full bonus damage, right? So they do a lot of damage, but they receive full damage from light chariots because light chariots are ranged attacks. So they don't have that. If we look at anti-mounted, right? This is 50% strength and defense in melee combat against mounted units. So when you attack, you're doing melee damage, so you get this. But when you're being attacked from the light chariot, you do not get this, right? So that's one of the trickier things about both the light chariot and the cataphract archer for Persia, is that spears definitely murder them, but you still open yourself up to some risky counterplay. And I think it goes double for the light chariot because they are 2 range units. So a battalion of light chariots can swarm down a couple of spears, and they'll all be doing full damage. So it can be terrifying to deal with if you don't have enough spears. And of course, if there aren't things like woods around. So there are plenty of woods around, which is a nice thing for Assyria. Yeah, I think Egypt is realizing that he needs to clear these woods out to get rid of this scout. So we'll probably see a nice intense shopping spree next round. Yep, and the Assyrians burned the woods down on their way out of Egypt. Absolutely, I love it. The calamities really have been a nice little icing on the cake in this tournament. I recently fought a match where my opponent came up on my coast and started harassing my ships, and at the same time, like not even at the same time, in the middle of the battle, right? It was just a couple of turns. It was like 3 or 4 turns. But in the middle of that, so about 2 turns into it, a tsunami hit. And, I mean, that was just cool, because it did so much damage to both of our stuff, and it actually benefited me more than him, I think. It allowed me to kill his ships, which I wasn't expecting to kill his ships. So that was really, really fun. I love the calamities. They're really neat. We're getting labor force now as the Assyrians. That will be our second law. What else do we have tagged here? Anything? No. We do have rhetoric lined up. We can get navigation. The nice thing is that the ram, it will be pretty solid here because it's basically a big tank. It's slow as shit, but it takes less damage from ranged units, so that'll be a nice, decent enough counter to the horses, because same kind of logic applies here with the mounted effect. This, where is it? This mounted effect, this combat bonus against siege is only melee, so that's one of the trade-offs for the Egyptian Light Lancer mounted unit, is unique mounted unit. is that they'll do stronger damage to spears since they're ranged, but they actually don't do any extra damage to siege since they're ranged. It's a bit of a trade-off there as well, which is probably why, if we hop back over to Egypt, probably why we see Spoked Wheel queued up here. Because in addition to getting our free light chariot, it will actually allow us to get actual chariots on the map, and that will be better for dealing with the rams than our unique unit, even though it's actually only a 5 strength unit compared to our unique unit being a 6 strength unit. The regular chariot will do more damage. We have a couple of raids crashing into Keith down here. That's not great to see. We're going to have to send one of these spears down south, which is, I mean, perfect timing, though, when you think about it. Oh, yeah. So we'll get a route chain right here if we want it. We do have a zealot on the throne, which is nice. Okay, so one less fun thing about calamities is apparently they cause a little bit of lag for the player, but it has passed now, so hopefully Blaj is doing all right. It will do damage to the scout, but one fun fact, if you're not aware, calamities, even the calamities that do damage, will never kill a unit. Even something like Marsh, if you're standing on Marsh, you'll take 1 damage per turn. Map effects like that will never kill a unit. You just get stuck at 1 HP the entire time. The only thing that can kill a unit, and that's even true of, do we have any tacticians out? No. That's even true of tactician counter. Tactician counter will not kill any units. Regular counter, so if your melee unit takes, the 1 damage counter from hitting something, that will never kill a unit. The only thing that ever actually kills a unit is an attack from another unit. That's the only way to kill a unit. Really nice to see this chopping spree here. Just missed that scout, so he'll be able to hang around for a little bit longer. But really solid use of orders here, especially when you're going to be thinking about bringing in mounted units. Both the light chariot and the regular chariot will be costing some wood here, and the quickest way to get wood when you do not have forestry is to just go on a chopping spree. I tend to clear chop just because I typically don't want to spend the orders to run back out into the woods and grab the forests again. I just basically all right, so he missed this tactical. That's fine. He'll get it next turn. He can do this next turn, as long as they stay next to each other. But he could have got one of those guys killed. Doesn't really matter. That's just nitpicking. I appreciate the people who are live with us now. I see about over 10 of you in the chat at the moment. And if you're watching after the fact on YouTube, look at this amazing opinion. A really, really good pagan opinion, and the landowners just love us. I love it. Really, really nice. So we got to get these guys converted to paganism at some point. Head on over to Assyria's turn. We have building a settler. I think we got a free settler as well at some point, didn't we? Or did we already settle that? Oh, we did. We settled our free site with it. Have not brought in a second champ city yet, which I find fascinating. We'll probably put it here, would be my guess. But I would have put champs here and put another hunters here. Personally, and maybe champs down here. Well, although this actually would be good enough for patrons. Yeah, I would have done this backwards. I would have done champs here, patrons here. Does he know what this site is? No, he doesn't. Okay, so never mind. That's not his fault. He cannot see either of those gold. Thereabouts. You can't. I believe this is cut off here. Yeah. So never mind. That's one of the things as the observer, you have a perfect vision, so it's easy sometimes for us to just say, "Oh man, why didn't you do that thing?" And then you realize when you're talking to the player after the fact, they're like, "Dude, I couldn't see the thing. Shut up." And you think, "Oh well, we demand perfection. We demand perfection." Nice to see the festival. Oh, we don't need it. We have a citizen here, so we probably should be building this. Although, I mean, cheap festivals are nice. 40 civics, 2-turn festivals. Nice way to spam growth. Not really important for the culture aspect of it, although it can add up pretty quickly. So this is something worth talking about. When you have a couple of marble here, I actually don't hate this, so I take that back. You have a couple of marble here like this. We already see that he's built 3 festivals. And when you think about it, this actually isn't that bad because it's only about 2 turns to finish a festival, right? So he can get himself up to something like a 5 base culture really quickly. He already has the luxury in there, so like get himself up to 7 or 10. You know, just spam this a couple of times. It gets him growth. It gets him citizens. It's cheap now, and then it gives him a nice solid base culture rate that he can just kind of set it and forget it, and just go back to building specialists and shit. So that's really neat there. You could be thinking, oh, wait, no, time to build a stonecutter. And you're definitely not wrong. There are multiple ways to do that, but this is one of the situations. Sometimes I've been critical of, you know, players opting to build a festival. This is not one of them. The big thing about the projects is they're worth doing when the build queue is very fast, right? So if you could do it quickly, then sure, bang out a project. Why not? But if it's taking 5 turns or so, well, then, yeah, then you don't want to do it. Thanks. I'm glad everybody's enjoying this. Definitely wasn't on my bingo card, my old world bingo card. I wasn't expecting to do a lot of videos, but here we are. This is honestly my favorite type of content to make now. I love watching people play this game. I love being able to kind of evaluate, spectate, commentate. I love the action. I love seeing the moves people make. I love seeing the conflict. You know, Blaj coming in here a couple of times and diving right in. That was so exciting. I'm pretty sure they started fighting for the first time on turn 12. And they've been skirmishing back and forth a little bit ever since. Yes, so we have a chopping spree. And we're going to do it. One more. Although, for the record, interestingly enough, if there were ever a forest that you were going to... That's hilarious that he left this hanging out. He went through all this to get a bunch of wood. And I'm sure it was just for the wood, right? But it's so funny that the scout... He just barely missed the scout. But, you know, as much as I do love chopping sprees, I would say that of all the woods you could leave hanging around, this is a solid one. Because, look, you have these 3 tiles adjacent to a camp. You have these 3 tiles adjacent to a camp. And you have these 2 tiles, and well, honestly, these 3 and, you know, all around, right, adjacent to a camp. And why that matters is camps boost lumber mill production by 20%. So if we go over here, actually, we've already done chopping over here. Nope, it's over here. Yeah, so if we go over here, once Syria gets a bunch of forestry, not only along these rivers is there going to be good... lumber mills, but even all around up here, especially because you could drop a windmill over here. Maybe you don't want to do a windmill there, but like, yeah, so this lumber camp, for example, with 2 camps, lumber mill, would be boosted by 40%. So that's not nothing, right? So like this forest, I would clear chop the shit out of. Don't need it. But one other thing, the thing I look for is rivers. Then I look for camps and hills. Hills, because even out here, if there were no camps around, you could put a mill. That's going to boost your lumber mill production. And then camps is probably the last thing. So you don't lose a lot by clear chopping all this. But just something to keep in mind in terms of the overall productive capabilities of your empire. It looks like we're using the bulk of that wood as Egypt to upgrade to spears. Definitely not a bad idea. We know there's lots of mounted units down here, and that's going to help us clear a bunch. Although, unfortunately for us, the Assyrians are grabbing steel right now. So, they're going to have to... And they're working on their metal production, which is nice to see. Also really like to see these flatland quarries out in the open. This is... Why this is important is because let's look at where the mountains are, right? So, the mountains are over here. I've gone over this rant tons of times, but let's take a comparison over to Egypt, right? Egypt currently does not have any quarries in their empire except for the 2 marbles. So thankfully the 2 marbles are going to give you decent stone production, But on Assyria's end, for Blaj, he's recognizing it's going to take me forever to get to any mountains. So I might as well just put quarries where I got them. You know, I would not be surprised if we see this whole terrain here become a big quarry bed. Maybe come down here with this. And then the nice thing about the marble is the adjacent quarries will buff this by 1 civic, give or take. Building a garrison, don't hate that, that's fine. Yeah, so it helps put your stone production. Quarries now are better than quarries later. Like waiting 20 turns to get a +10 quarry as opposed to a +5 quarry just doesn't make sense. We do have a lot. We can do slavery now, and that's another nice thing. We can do slavery. Does our opponent have slavery? I suspect they do. No, they have freedom. Interesting. Okay. So they're doing freedom for the faster workers, which is nice. So that's going to ramp up that Egyptian stone economy quite nicely when it's ready. Yeah, that's true. Yep. The lumber mills all being close enough to each other will also stack the adjacencies as well, getting you more wood. And that's a thing that I think can often be overlooked, which is one of the reasons why I talk about the flatland quarry, is because, you know, you put a quarry down and then you surround it with a bunch of other quarries. Well, this quarry is going to get boosted by something like 6 stone or whatever. So this central quarry, if you just made one, ignore the marble, if you just made one big ring, this central quarry becomes like a 10 stone tile or something. So you effectively create a mountain tile. And then if we compare that to the mountain tiles themselves, it's like you're never gonna, this is a rarity. Most of the time you're looking at 2 mountains max, right? 2 mountains or 1 mountain, right? So yeah, you get a better boost, but you build enough quarries out in the open and you kind of catch up. Of course, we are building our mountain quarries now, which does make sense, since, you know, build them if you got them. So I'm sure we'll see that over in Assyria as well at some point. 5 turns left on steel. And we're dealing with this raid, and we're moving forward. Oh, this is so funny and annoying. We're moving into the valley this way, and the raid is coming this way. This way. That is so silly. Getting border boost for the Egyptians, that'll give us a nice turn. I would like to make sure I keep an eye on how we spend all of those orders. Order boost is definitely a great opportunity to go for a chopping spree. Really like to have that at some point. Or maybe you hang on to it for a nice battle. All right. Nice. I like the econ development. Getting an officer, that's important. Apprentice poet, that's going to be more science. Let's take a look at where we are on science for now for both players as well. A lead now for the Assyrians, and almost the exact same amount of science invested in the tree overall. So that early aggression from Blaj didn't set him back too much, which is really, really nice to see. It's very easy for early aggression like that to put you so far behind your opponent, because basically what ends up happening is you're spending so many orders on that. Of course, they have to spend orders to defend you, which I think is probably one of the reasons why Egypt didn't come out too far ahead on that, because, well, honestly, they were very close to losing. This city almost fell, and I think at one point they only had 1 warrior to maybe 3 slingers that were in their territory. So yeah, it was dire straits for the Egyptians for a little bit. But now they've kind of equalized, which is cool to see. And the big question of that, after that equalization, is Blaj going to pay long term for that early aggression? And it doesn't look like the answer to that is going to be yes. I think Egypt did great getting into a nice position after such early aggression, and I think Assyria has done very well ensuring that they didn't fall too far behind off of it. So it's nice to see from both players on both sides of the game. Alright, we are back to the Egyptians. Coming in for a route here. Let's see if we can't... Oh, we can't get that now. We will get our first natural horse. Did we import up here? We did import here, so we do have 2 hubs. Unfortunate that this isn't the landowner seat, but that's okay. We could colonies out here to get another hub, or maybe clear this. I'm surprised that Egypt isn't pressuring over here. Not Egypt, Assyria. But they could be worried about this spear situation. Nice response from Blaj to go for axes after seeing spears, though. And now Egypt is aware of this raid. That is just delightfully funny. Yeah. That is annoying. Whew. Big day. One turn on that order boost for the Egyptians. Be curious to see what they make use of it. Building a slinger like that. We have good stone stockpile. I really like the unit production in Egypt, to be honest. We have a decent enough economy, have decent enough science. So it's really nice to build up. Our opponent is stronger than us. So Assyria is currently stronger than us. So that's something to watch out for. We do have a champion seat to keep in mind, which is another thing that's important for Egypt to not slack off on their unit production. It can be very easy to just let a champ seat keep producing units and outproducing you, and you can fall behind on that front because it's very powerful. Very easy for one city to carry the weight of a larger empire because it's just so strong. This is something... How many turns are on this? Okay, never mind. 2 turns on the outpost respawning. I mean, I feel like you keep clearing with this and you bring one of these guys down, right? Let's take a look at the order rate. How are we doing on orders with both nations? Egypt has a lead here on orders, probably as a result of husbandry and some pastures online. Also serfdom. They do have serfdom, right? Yes, they do. Serfdom is such a... This is serfdom right here. One of these is serfdom, guaranteed. It literally just gives you a huge jump in orders. So that's always nice to see. In fact, actually, I know exactly what this is. This is probably when shrines started coming online here from divine rule, and then this is probably serfdom. 22 to 23, so let's figure out when we discovered serfdom. Or, yeah, 22, exactly. Yeah, so that jump from orders right here is the serfdom grab. Really, really, really strong to grab that. And look where he was compared to Assyria at the time. So that's going to give you a massive jump. Nice to see some early roading. Road. Get this connected status going, and also get yourself a very easy path to reinforce your front line. Very easy to forget about roading. Very easy to forget about roading early enough. It's very easy to fall in the trap of, like, I need more quarries, I need more stuff, I need to keep building. But really just taking a couple of workers, doesn't even have to be a lot, just 2 or 3, and spending, 5 to 10 turns going around and establishing your road network is not a bad use of your orders, not a bad use of your time. You basically are only sacrificing, like, 2 mines, or 2 or 3 mines, 3 or 4 quarries, things like that. So it really is worth it long term. Building a road over here would be nice to just get this connected, but you're not going to have discontent issues in the Assyrian, in the whatchamacallit, the patron seat. All right, so we got our order boost. Oh no! We were one turn away from having this camp spawn a upgrade, so we're going to have to spend more time killing this stuff. That's annoying. Might as well just send this guy back around to deal with his raid first. That's always frustrating. Oh, no, we're going straight for it. Screw the raid. So one thing you can do... Oh, no, we have another... All right, we have another spear. That's fine. Just business as usual. Love the landowners spam here. It's our third... Not really spam, but it's our third landowner seat. Perhaps we'll see another one down here. Maybe riders out in the open. I just don't understand. There's really not a point to build more clerics. After the first couple. After the first one, really. Hard to make it worthwhile, I think. We are severely ill on our air in Assyria. We could have a quick secession over there. She just took the throne, I think. She is an orator, though. I would be curious to see if the Assyrians decide to buy a couple of tribes. There are Scythians on the map. Couldn't hurt. In fact, let's take a look at the legitimacy. There's 84 in Assyria versus 58 in Egypt, and that would be 77 if he didn't spend any on mercenaries. So, I mean, that's not too bad. Not too bad of a deficit there. So, actually, he does have an opportunity. Oh, no, he doesn't. Never mind. I was thinking that maybe he could complete this legacy, but he can't. Which is unfortunate. One order left, 15 seconds to go. Nice. I like this. I like this tile buying. So we spent all of our extra orders. So I think we came out. We bought some tiles. I think we did some shopping spree around this. Right? No? No? I don't think so. Never mind. Huh. Doesn't really look like we moved too much, but I suppose we did. All right, back over to Assyria. We can settle now. I suspect this will be a champion seat. And this is another reason why. This, I believe, was a champion settler, so you would have had an extra citizen here. And if you bring and make this a hunter's city... Ooh! Almost destroyed my mic. Because this is a hunter's settler, it would give an extra citizen in that area as well. So when I try to... If I can, right? I mean, if I just need the city, then it doesn't matter. I just ignore the citizen. But if I know I have a settler coming out in 3 turns... and I have a settler over here that just came out because of the free settler, which Assyria did get, well, then I'll make sure that this settler settles me a champ city. Even if I want it over here, I'll just send this settler over here, and then I'll just send this settler over here and even do patrons, right? Like, even if I decide I'm committed to patrons here, well, then I'll do the off-type. Since I have 2 settlers in roughly the same time frame, I'll do the off-type settler for the wrong family, right? And that way I use at least one of the correct settlers for the right family and get that extra citizen, if that makes any sense. This is very interesting to me. Why we've chosen to put it here. I can't figure this out. This is a spawn point for units. So once your barracks fill up, your units will come out here. In fact, I can't remember which one takes priority. They might even come out in the Nerta first. I honestly can't remember. So really, I would like to see something like the Shrine of Ninorta up here. That's where you want to put something like that. Because if you think of it this way, when a shrine, it says spawn point for infantry units, right? So think of this. We have a unit spawning right here. Look at this. 1, 2. So in fact, if you just swapped this tile, you'd need to expand it because you can't leave a hanging island like this of territory. But if you swap this tile to a hunter seat, oh yeah, you don't even need to because this is hunter, so you wouldn't even get a penalty, right? So in fact, you could even swap all the way this way. You could swap all of these tiles to the hunter seat and then put put your Shrine of Ninorta over here. That would be fun. And then this city is spawning units over here, saving a grand total of 1, 2, 3, call it 3 orders. That would be delightful. That would be very delightful. It's honestly hard to think of that stuff, though. That's just me min-maxing the game from this perspective. I do that stuff sometimes, but, it's harder to think of that crazy shit in the middle of a duel when you're worried about your opponent coming to kill you. Happy to have you. We have a comment saying, love old world content. Thanks to you guys, I found and I played a great game. Great to hear. That's exactly what all of us want. Everyone from Purple Bull Moose to myself, Jams, Alcaris, the whole crew of people creating content right now, especially around the tournament and otherwise. We all just want this game to sell millions and millions of copies, and we want everybody to play it, and just because we love it. It's an amazing, amazing game. So let's take a look at the army counts here. We have 7 infantry units in Egypt, 1 mounted unit, not 9, and 1 range unit, so that's 9 units total. And if we hop on over to Assyria, we will see that we have 13 units total, 8 range units, 4 infantry, and you know what's interesting about this? I just realized this. Wait a minute. Ranged slingers are infantry, so this should be called maybe melee units? I'm confused by this. I'm going to have to bring this up to somebody. But anyway, 12 units in Assyria. Oh, it says melee infantry in this tab, right? But this says infantry, period. So I suppose it would also be confusing if it just said melee, because horses can be melee units as well. So I guess it's probably the best we're going to get, right? Because there's not enough room for this to say melee infantry in this tab, because they're all kind of like taking up the same amount of space, I think. But yeah, maybe that's a compromise. Because it's a little confusing if it says infantry, and it's a little confusing if it says melee. Either way, right? So, okay, well, whatever. All right, the Assyrians are free to settle their site now. I'll be curious which they pick. I suspect it's going to be champions. Let's take a look at some events. We can do... Ooh, we can get Zoroastrianism if we want it. We probably do not want it, but... And we can get peace with the Scythians. That might be worth it. Do we want that? I mean, I think we want to take these sites, so I guess no. But... certainly an option if we decide we don't want to keep clearing. We can come down here and get the Barbarian site, although that is a bit out of the way at this point. Might as well just keep trying to pressure your opponent. And we are getting our stronghold up in Egypt now. That should be done, if I'm right about my timing, that should be done in about 2 or 3 turns. Let's take a look. Oh, 4 turns, okay. Might have been a little bit of delayed start to that. That's fine, though. So turn 50. Now, remember, this could have been done, I think, around turn 37-ish. So that little incursion from Egypt really did help set back. Sorry, incursion from Persia really did set back the Egyptian war machine a little bit, which is really, really nice to see. We're getting Polis in Egypt. We have land consolidation tagged. We still have spoked wheel tagged. So keep finding higher priorities to grab other than that. All right. No big deal. And we did settle. All right. Okay. So we settled hunters here. I don't hate this. We're deciding to deprioritize champions. It's really a strong city, but the family is less needed all across the empire. You don't really need to spam champions. You will run the risk of opinion here. But really, if we check this out, we have negative 60 opinion from discontent and negative 20 from envy. If we overlook at the champions, the traders, it's 180 from discontent alone. So really, you can actually swap discontent for envy when you keep a family at a low city count, because less cities means less discontent. And I think it's generally easier to deal with the envy, to be honest. And for those who don't know, envy is a opinion malice that starts kicking in once. So let's see here. So once you have, so the clerics also have one family, and the riders have, one city, and the landowners have 3. Envy will kick in. We'll have 20 envy right here. It kicks in once you have more than 2 of any other one family than the family who's going to develop envy. But that increases dramatically. So I think that goes from 20 to something like 40, or maybe it goes right from 20 to 60. I think it is 20, 60, then I forget how it scales, but it gets up to over 100 pretty quickly. I think if we brought in another 3 landowners family, I think this would be something like 120. My math on how it scales is I don't remember, but it's the same deal here. So we have negative 80 opinion from both discontent and envy. And then if we look over at the landowners, it's negative 220 just from discontent alone, right? So clearly the opinion's better because we have other stuff going on for us. But if once we can get some pagan opinion in here, maybe an influence or 2 or whatever, the hole is much smaller to dig out of just because we have the one city. It's only the 60 discontent and the 20 envy. So that's one of the drawbacks of spamming one city too much, is you can trick yourself into thinking that, if I keep giving landowners more family, they'll like me more and more, except it's actually bringing in more and more potential growth points for discontent. So if a family already dislikes you, Amalmer is not the best example because there's only one city anyway. So not quite the same thing. But let's say landowners had negative 100 opinion right now. You wouldn't want to keep spamming landowner cities because that would actually just keep making your problem worse. Because the one of the boosts for founded a city for us, for example, this is only temporary. It only lasts 20 years. So that's also another thing to think about. We have cleared this camp. We have a spear ready to deal with this rebel, so we have another place we can settle right now. We're building a settler in 4 turns. Everything else is building a military unit, or we're building a disciple up here. Buying more. Oh my God! I'm gonna love Moroten so much if this happens. So I have a prediction. We're going back over to Egypt right now. I have a prediction. This is the landowner's capital. We can buy tiles with it. I have a feeling that Moroten is going to swap the border for all of these tiles into the capital, and then, using the landowner's ability, continue to buy tiles to the horses, giving him horses in his capital. And I swear to God, that's the type of shit that I love to see in this game. That is awesome. Please let me be correct. Oh man, I hope that happens. I once did that in a duel against somebody. I had my nearest horses for my capital were something like 23 tiles away, 25 tiles away, and I remember it specifically because we had a whole conversation about it after the fact. Because my opponent literally was like, "Where the hell are your horses? You don't have horses on your side of the map." Like, how'd you? Oh, and here's the other thing. I forgot to bring in riders. I was playing Egypt. I forgot to bring in riders at all. So I didn't even have access to import anywhere. And there were no horses on the map except for that one spot. So yeah, I snaked my border through my entire empire to get to this like one instance of horses so I could fund my unique unit. And if that happens here, if Moroten actually micros that, I'm going to be so happy. Always fun to see. Always fun to see. All right. So now we're at, what's the city count? 7 cities to Assyria. And 4 turns. So Assyria has taken the momentum on settling there. For now. I think clearing will still advantage Egypt. I think once we heal up here, we can take this site. We can toss another landowner down here, maybe a clerics. We can do riders right here. And do we build... Are we building another settler? We are building another settler. Yeah, so all right. This is really nice momentum here from Assyria. Blaj is not too hindered. Let's look at the science once more. Still a nice lead. But they're neck and neck in the tree. 970... they're 1 science apart in the tech tree. 1010 to Assyria, 1009 to Egypt. Well done, both players. If either of you watched the commentary after the fact, really, really nice to see both of you react to this early situation. Solid aggression there from Assyria, solid rebounding from Egypt, and it's nice that neither of our players really let that early conflict flummox their momentum long term. Really cool, really, really cool to see. So early on, players watching this game were thinking that maybe this part of the map would largely remain cut off and play a non-factor, and that certainly is something we can see in games like this where there's such a mountain barrier, especially with early aggression, because the border can create so much pressure that it's hard to take time to expand. But both players are able to expand, so it's entirely possible we could see this whole map fill up with cities. There are 22 cities on the map. Oh! I think we messed up. Wait. Are we going the other way? I'm confused. This tile... Didn't this tile already exist? Already belong to the city? I think we messed up. Did we send it back? Did we buy it already and then send it back? Love this farmland spamming, by the way. Really making advantage of... Oh, actually, wait a minute. Is that only on rivers? Oh, no, it's still cheaper. It's still cheaper, but you get the bonus farm from farms on the river. But this is still cheaper, yeah. So you're making taking advantage of the fact that this is going to cost you less wood to improve. Egyptian treasury is a little low, but really the economy is fine. These are the numbers you care about. As long as you have really good resource income, you can let your gold dip quite a bit. Of course, it's nice to have everything in the positive, but I mean, as long as you're making enough resources each turn, it doesn't matter if you stay at negative, whatever gold. Because you have to think, at the end of the day, all resources translate to money anyway. So there's that aspect of it to think about. Which, again, doesn't necessarily mean neglect your goal, but there's nothing wrong with having a little bit of a deficit. Okay, we have a schemer now on the throne. And we have... Ooh. Oh, wow. We can get misanthropia. I can't even say that. Misanthropia. That's not what it is. Mythophoria. We can get that in our patron seat, which we definitely want because we have the 2 quarries, so we definitely want the increased civics, and we also want the increased culture. Really nice option here. We'll probably have to sell some stuff for it, but I think that's worth it, to be honest. I think that's very, very much worth it. Getting 40 science per turn now that we are a schemer. That's going to bump us up just a little bit. Not really sure about the festival here. Acolyte. Interesting. Generally, in military seats, I like to save my citizens for officers, but it looks like we're doing heavy on trappers and stuff. I mean, that will be useful if we send them directly to the city, which we have been doing. Oh, really nice. So we have some nice boosted culture in this city, too, which will be helpful for getting more unique units out. Really, really nice. We have the preferred luxury, so that's going to be 3 culture per turn, and then another 2. And we have and we did accept Zoroastrianism. I like that. We did that for the culture, I suspect. Oh, yes. So we have a comment saying that selling resources without undo is scary. I agree with you. I hate it. I just close my eyes, hit shift or control, and I just sell a batch and hope it's enough. And when it's not, I cry. That goes back to that thing I was saying about making mistakes. Sometimes you just have to, sometimes you can't really math it out in time, and you just sell. Oh, we did. We're selling. Okay. So this is silly because we made a mistake, but the fact that we put this back in the capital tells me he's actually going to do this. He's actually doing this. I love this. Oh, man. It's going to get so expensive, though. It's probably going to be like 1,000, 1,000 or 2,000 gold to get all the way out here. Let's, well, okay. No, hold on. We'll have to really pay attention next turn. All right, we're Spartaning it up against the horses. All right, let's see how much it's going to cost. To be honest, I like to speed this process up, by the way. I would send, this guy here, this guy here, this guy here, and I just get it all done in one turn, if I can afford it, obviously. He's going to have to sell resources to make it happen. But it's much easier to just do it with a bunch of units rather than do it one at a time. In fact, I actually recently just did this in my own game. It's always fun to snake the borders around. All right, we're buying another tile. I suspect. 140 gold. What on earth is that? Am I not? Oh, that's not updating for me. I think that's not updating for me. It isn't. Okay. Yep, it's not updating for me. All right. I can make a note of that. Make a note of that and let the boys know. Yes. So I feel like this essentially confirms it. We are sending our board, and since this is double landowners, which is another perk about having your nearest by cities match a border with your capital, is, let's say, even if this wasn't, right, even if this was like, say you're say you're Carthage, right, so you don't have landowners, but your elephant is right here, and there wasn't an elephant here, right, and your capital's not riders. You could snake, if you did something like artisans, you can just snake along this border and get your whatever resource you need. So that's always a fun thing to do. You could do that with something like iron too. There's iron up in these hills. You could just send them to your champion's capital by doing champions, and just sell the border. There's always some fun stuff you can do by that level of micro. So it's really neat to see someone actually doing this. I don't know that I've spotted. I don't think I've caught a player doing that too much so far. Blaj is noting the fact that his rulers keep down. Oh my god, he had another death. Jesus. Let's take a look at the... Wow, he's had... This guy died, but he lived a nice long life, I think. But then he's had 2 deaths, and now he has a regent on the throne. The regent's going to be nice, though. Because, how old is the daughter? So that's 9 turns to get some decent legitimacy that won't decay. So let's take a look at the politics in the Assyrian Empire are fine. So nobody's going too crazy during this secession crisis. And let's take a peek at the legitimacy. Yeah. So now the legitimacy is up 20 points in Egypt. So that's good for Egypt. But not a crisis point. I don't think it's a crisis point for the Assyrians yet. Do we have any more laws? We still have 2 laws, 7 cities. We're going for more clears down here. I'm not muted, I've just realized I'm not saying anything. Just kind of observing the glory. I mean, I think both players are doing well. I think they're pretty evenly... It feels like they're pretty evenly matched. Skill-wise, which is nice. Interestingly... This might be a tournament first. We've seen the Assyrians adopt their opponent's religion. I wonder what the thinking behind that is. Maybe an event made it happen? Be curious if they actually spent the civics on it. Very fascinating to see what's up with that. Very, very fascinating to see what's up with that. Cool to see, though. Very cool to see. Good for them. I wonder if that's an event. Of course, as long as you have this adopted and you get, the correct mechanic, like a zealot on the throne or something else, you'll still be able to use things like rushing and stuff like that. So there is value to secure that if you don't want to invest the time to found your own resource. All right. Over in Egypt, going to be making quick... Oh, we made truce with the Scythians. I suspect we'll kill them shortly. And what do we have? Ooh, we can get a Picticus, or we can get 6 legitimacy. That's fun. I think we take the legitimacy here. Although an intelligent strict scholar is not bad. We could just spend civics to swap back, I think. Be curious to see what he chooses there. We'll watch the legitimacy. If that goes over 100, that will be where that comes from. Yeah, and oh, here we go. This is so beautiful. I can't wait for this to happen. All right. Yeah, so we took the legitimacy. Yeah, I don't hate that option. It could go either way there. I love courtiers. Intelligent and strict are both solid to have for a character who's going to be a governor. We are building a light chariot up here, but the 6 legitimacy is 6 legitimacy. Hard to say no to that. And it keeps us in the slavery law, which is what we want. Now, we are building a light chariot, and we can rush our light chariot with our zealot. So I want to see this happening right now. Really no reason not to. You're making 125 science per turn, so basically with your not science, training per turn. So basically with your currently training rate, this is an effective production rate of light chariots every 4 turns here. Of course, we will be able to build 2 right away, so you rush out 2 with your training, you rush out a couple with your civic. Now this all only depends on if you're planning on ending the game soon. Allowing me to clarify that, because you can throw your whole economy into a power spike like this, right? You could rush 3 or 4 times in a row, get a battalion of 6 strength chariots up and running, 5 or 6 chariots running, and then go in for the kill. Of course, if you throw your whole weight behind that in the mid game here, and it doesn't pan out, it can backfire or put you back into a build-up session, right? So. But this is the opportunity to make that decision for Moroten. He can spam this rush button. He literally has enough civics, because this would be 420 civics, so let's hop back over to Egypt. So he has enough civics to rush with civics twice. He has enough training to rush with training 2 times, and then likely a 3rd time after. So in 5 turns, this is the thing to think about. In this, how's his opinion? His opinion's decent, not the best. But in 5 turns, he could get 5 light chariots, and that is a hell of a power spike to deal with. And then he's already a zealot, so he could send them off and start picking off his opponent. You don't want to be spending 7 turns building a unit. Of course, another thing we'll have to watch out, he could put 3 or 4 turns worth of production in this city, and then purchase it with the training that way. It does reduce the cost and give you a bit of a better return on your investment overall. It's just still, obviously, as you can imagine, it takes longer, so you get a better value, but you don't get units as fast. So my preference tends to be just spamming these buttons as much as I can. But of course, like I said, it can backfire. You can throw your whole economic weight behind a little bit of a power spike, behind a bit of a push, and then you can have your opponent just smack you right back to where you belong. Which, of course, is always super frustrating. Wow, we are going heavy on the hunters in the border. That is wild. Don't hate it, but that is wild. It's certainly our best opinion. And now, so here's a good example. We have 120 negative opinion, 60 from discontent, 60 from envy in the champion's capital, compared to... Well, actually, you know what? Our patrons are fine, too. 60 discontent for 3 cities. That's nice. Oh, and we're coming down here to clear. This one I suspect would be a second champion city. Or actually, no, with the pressure, probably patrons again. I don't know. Could be anything. We are now looking at 8 cities to 6 for Egypt. Still one turn. We'll get our 7th city next turn. And we don't have any other settlers coming out. So this is the time. This is another thing to think about. Trying to press that momentum. Get yourself 5 or 6 light chariots within 5 or 6 turns. And send them at your opponent. We are seeing no military production in Assyria whatsoever, except for an axeman from the champion capital. So now is the time. Of course, Egypt would not know about this, right? But, yeah, if you can intuit your power spike. We do know that Blaj still only has 2 laws here, and neither of them are serfdom, so we can assume off of that alone. These are the types of assumptions you can make. Of course, they can be wrong, right? But you can look at your opponent, assumption number 1, all right? And this is going to be accurate. So this is accurate knowledge, actually. So point number 1, they only have 2 laws, which means they do not have their unique unit, which means... So here's the first assumption. The first assumption is they may not yet have a 6th strength unit. Options outside of the unique unit for 6th strength units is elephants, is camel archers, and what else we got? Onagers, that's another 6th strength unit. And that's more or less it for now. Macemen, I suppose. You could get Macemen around this time. Turn 50? Sure, yeah, definitely. Right, so you can make an assumption here that they probably may not have 6th strength units, especially when you can see their army, things like that. So that's the first assumption you make. The second assumption you make when you look at this and see that they only have slavery and centralization, you look at your own laws, you say, well, I have 4 laws, I have serfdom, therefore I probably have a better order economy than them. So that's one of the reasons why I would like to see Moroten slamming these Russia buttons out, give himself a nice little power spike, right? 5 light chariots within 5 turns, and then go on an attack here. Again, there's no way that I can ever know that that's the correct play. I'm just saying that's what I'm looking at. That's how I would evaluate the situation. Now, I can be wrong. I'm not an infallible player. I don't want people to get the impression that I play this game perfectly at all times. I make mistakes as well. I get things wrong. Sometimes I watch these games and I think somebody should attack, and then they do, and then they lose. So, of course, I can get things wrong. I just tend to be an aggressive player, so if I were in Egypt's situation right now, I would be focusing on a light chariot power spike. Although, I suppose the only other thing I would look at in this scenario is where am I in relation to 7 laws. So we're too far away from strong. Yeah, so we're like 38 turns away from strong, and I don't even need to look at the laws in the tech tree, right? We're 1, 2, 3... 3 laws away from 7. So yeah, this is quite a ways away. So yeah, my opportunity here in this moment as Egypt would be a light chariot power spike. Especially because I'm seeing axes, which tells me that Assyria probably didn't run spears, even though they do have access to phalanx right now. The fact that they took the time to go to steel tells me that they didn't immediately take the time to go to phalanx, which is another good thing for us. Pretty nice clear down here. Champion's always pulling its weight. Interesting. Do we have forestry yet? No, not yet. Man, forestry would be really nice in Assyria right now. They could get all of these churning out an amazing amount of wood. So we are building a disciple. I wonder what that's about. I mean, that tells me we'll probably spread our religion, right? We have good growth in this city. Are we near a monasticism? We could get... I would be very, very intrigued here. I really don't dislike that the Assyrians have just accepted the first opportunity to take Zoroastrianism into their empire. Because let's look at another thing here. Let's take a look at another thing. As soon as Egypt starts founding theologies, if they choose to do so, those theologies will benefit Assyria. So that would be a very interesting play to see from Blaj if he decides, you know what, sure, fine, screw it. I'm going to make everybody Zoroastrian, and I'm going to benefit from your efforts, your religious efforts. Egypt can get forestry themselves now, or they have an interesting choice to make. They can get citizenship, they can get monasticism, or coinage. Coinage probably isn't the pick here. It's very difficult to make coinage pay off, although the money boost would be helpful to get you all the way out to here, if you want it, or get you a wonder. Forestry is probably the grab here. We do have land consolidation up in Q, so that gets us closer to there. But of course, I could see something like, well, we can't actually put a courthouse in this city yet, so maybe not a courthouse. Yeah, we're getting forestry, but monasticism could be easy, interesting. That's annoying, yeah. Interesting. And here we are. We're going up. We're going to get our horses. I want to see if Assyria can spot this. Assyria can't even spot it. Oh, that's so delightful. That's so delightful. Moroten, you're my hero. What a champion. And this right here, people wonder why. People wonder why landowners is one of my favorite families. Like, yes, I could just have a rider's capital and import the horses, but that's not cool. This is way cooler. This is way cooler. And then you could just buy along the coast if you want to. You could keep you never needed to adopt colonies, although that would become prohibitively expensive. But still, in theory, you could just keep doing it. Oh, wow. Love it. Love to see it. We've settled our city down here. This one is clerics. All right, so we did bring a second cleric city now. Let's take a look at the politics. Politics is starting to get a bit shaky. What's up with our ruler here? Man, they are estranged. They are divorced. They are a different archetype. So we've had a falling out with our wife, and that has brought stuff down in the kingdom. Bit unfortunate. Ooh, you can get magic practitioner, though. That's always nice. Okay. I think we do that. Yuck. Alright, so we gotta get people converted to Zoroastrianism, I suppose, and kind of leave our wife, or ex-wife at this point, to just be grumpy about stuff. Yeah. Okay. Any minute now, I hope we'll see a rush. Back over to Assyria. We have some extra culture. We can become gracious. That's not too bad. And we can convert our child to one of our theologies, one of our religions. Easy way to get the extra XP. We can take a lover, if we want. All nice options. Like the vision that Egypt has. Egypt has decent vision. Let's take a peek at that specifically. Have a decent sense about what's going on here. Nice eyes on their border. Not too bad. All right. I think I'm going to take 1 minute to myself here. keep the action focused probably around down here. Give myself a wide berth of as much of the map as I can see between both players. I think the camera's going to swap behind. I think that it's going to swap between the two players. Be interesting to see if Blaj picks up on this new icon we have. This was just out in the patch today, which is really nice. Now we have a timer for a Hidden Scout. Perfect information delivery system there. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to go grab myself some more water and maybe a snack. Be right back. If you're watching this on YouTube, feel free to skip ahead until you hear me talking again, or just keep watching to see the action, and give us a like, leave a comment, or subscribe. Check out the Old World YouTube channel and see the tournament playlist. We have every game set up there for you to catch up on all the action that's been going on so far. So I will be right back. All right, we are back in the spectator sheet. To those of you with us live now, appreciate you being here. There's just about 20 people in the chat. Sometimes games like this hit in a bit of a development phase. Totally understandable. Both players kind of gearing up for the next conflict. And it does look like Egypt is bringing multiple units over to this region to ensure that they grab these horses, and honestly, win or lose Moroten, this is my favorite play of the entire game. Not a combat move, not a tactical action, literally just a strategic play of crossing borders from your capital, bringing your landowners bonus out to the very edge of your empire and saying, nom nom nom, I want that goddamn horse meat. Really, really great. Really, really great to see that the level of micro that I want to see from my players in these games. Creative problem solving. No horses in your empire anywhere you can see? Well, bring the horses to Muhammad. Back to Assyria. Assyria doing quite nice. They're going to need a couple more units down here, though. I think they'll keep taking a decent amount of damage from here. Yeah, and things like this. Can we see this as Egypt? No, we cannot. Things like this, though, is one of the reasons why I want to press a power spike when I have an opportunity. Because these light chariots are really fast, especially with a zealot on the throne. So if you can get some vision of something like this, you could send in 3 or 4 light chariots to delete all of these units in just one quick strike. Of course, orders will always... sometimes I get ahead of myself. We have 27 orders per turn as Egypt. Sometimes you can get ahead of yourself, though. You can think you have a nice power spike, and then you realize you have dog shit for orders, and you can't do anything. So that always sucks, too. 5 turns forestry to the Egyptians. 5-turn navigation, all right? So that's another big thing we're going to watch out for as the Egyptians. Another thing that's informing the power spike idea is that now, I mean, we're going to run out of time, right? Even if we were rushing out these units. But one of the reasons why I look to try and push a power strike if you can, a power spike if you can, is navigation is going to be a little bit of an order equalizer for our opponent. That's going to help them catch up a little bit in order efficiency. And of course, I mean, the Assyrians have really great order economy in general. Interesting to see theaters being constructed. Definitely prioritizing that science output. We're doing 3-turn specialists. A decent governor here. Nice orator. And this festival is going to help us with growth. Now, that's the main priority of this festival now. It's going to be 11 turns to our next growth, but we have 2 turns until the theater comes online, so the main usage of spamming out a festival like this is going to cut down this growth time significantly. A couple of festivals, maybe you'll cut that growth in half, make it more like 5 or 6 turns instead of 11. So that's the thinking behind that, in case you're not familiar with why a player would be spamming festivals like that. All right, so if we are going to rush at all, now would be the time. Oh no, we had a death. We had a death. Our zealot warlike. Ah, see, and that's just one of the shitty things. That's another reason, by the way. I just slam the button when I have it, because if you're relying on zealots to rush, well, they could just die, right? So I'd rather have 2 light chariots right now rather than save some income. It would have been 240 to rush, I think. Maybe 260 or 280. I can't remember. It would have been 250-ish to rush. Now it's 170. So we could have just had... No, that's not right. It was 4 something, wasn't it? I think it was 4 something. Yeah, it was 425. Yeah, I'm wrong. It was 425. So we still, with the training we have now, we could have had 2 light chariots and been on our way to a 3rd one. But now we're dead. Now we're dead, and there's a tactician on the throne. Which isn't bad. What do we got coming up here? Oh, all right. Barracks. Nice to see. We could get more civics here. Oh, this is a great spot for a builder, actually, because that'll get us our lumber mills online much quicker. I always keep an eye out for builders, especially when I'm about to do something like, you know, my forestry's coming online and I want a bunch of lumber mills everywhere. I'll make sure I get a builder in here if it's available. Or I really like putting builders in cities that have hills, because hills take 4 turns to improve. So I'm going to do a bunch of mines on these hills, for example. I'd put a builder in here if I had it, but I don't have one. But that's another great place to put builders, especially. Gives you much, much quicker mines. All right, I think are we going to go in now, or are we going to wait one turn? We can wait. No rush. Move this guy up. You'd be able to kill both units next turn, I suspect. Yeah. Be able to kill both units next turn. Whoop. And then you can take the camp the turn after. So yeah, no reason not to wait. Move this guy up. Maybe. Sort of. Kind of. No? We're running... forgive my mocking tone. The guy only has 5 seconds left to move. So, I mean... There's time pressure. I'm relaxed. I'm sitting in my chair. I'm watching these guys play. I'm not up against the clock. It's an entirely different experience once you're actually behind the wheel playing the game. It's not quite the same. It's very easy to miss the type of stuff that we as the observer can see because, you know, we're not under stress. And we have secured, however, Egypt has secured their horse. Brilliant. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Love it. And Assyria is none the wiser. Assyria has no idea about this. For all Assyria knows, and let's not forget, they had the pressure to clear this, which means they could have settled this, which means they could have denied these horses. But for whatever reason, Blaj decided not to. But, you know, 10, 20 turns ago, he absolutely had the pressure in this region to clear this site. So that's going to be an interesting circumstance. We do have camels secured now, though. So this could be sentinel camels. Really nice to see that. Is that our only camel on the map? Oh, there's another one down here. Great. Building more axes. Egypt is now similar to us in terms of power. Let's take a look at that power scale. They're neck and neck in power at this point, 590 to 580. And then let's see military units produced. This is great. 14 produced by Assyria, 13 military units produced by Egypt. Let's emphasize how amazing that is for Moroten because he's been competing with champions' output. So that brings me back to what I'm saying about don't slack off on military production. Because let's say he wasn't doing what he's doing here, where he's at 3 build queues building units, right? So let's say he was doing half of that, and he was doing that for most of the game. Well, at this point, Assyria would have 14 units, and Egypt would have about 7 or 8 units, and that's not the position you want to be in, especially when you're dealing somebody who has free crits and the ability to take orders every time they kill you. So it's always important if you are non-champion. I definitely think you should be building units regularly anyway, but that kind of goes double if you're not a champion nation, because you can't kind of just rely on the one city to make up for your deficit. The nice thing about a champ capital, or not a capital, but a champ city, is that you can kind of get away with being a little greedy with your build queues a little bit, because one champion city can kind of provide the military output that 2 different cities can provide. So that's another way to look at that for terms of champ benefit. But yeah, so really cool, really nice to see the military output from the Egyptians here. Not slacking off, doing what they need to do, getting done what they need to do. Plenty of luxuries in Assyria, which is nice. A few of them are literature, but they have a couple of instances of fur. And here we go. We are building our glorious, glorious pasture. Moroten the Horse King. Well-deserved, well-earned. I would love to know the total cost of this, but I'm not even going to bother trying to figure it out. Probably a couple thousand money. But really, really fantastic to see. Fantastic to see. And then, for my viewers in the channel, and those of you watching after the fact, if you want to get really micro-intense, you build this. You build a bunch of horses units in the capital using your rush mechanics, right? So you spend a bunch of orders off of orthodoxy. You use your training if you have a zealot, which we don't anymore, but, spam civics, whatever, right? You do that. And then when the costs get too high and this city is ready to start building, because it doesn't have the culture yet, right? So when this city is all online with either its strongholds or its citadels to build your unique unit, what you do is you bulldoze this improvement by building over it and canceling the improvement. Then you sell these tiles to this city and you start rushing from this city instead. That will very, very likely not happen in this game because the game would not go on long enough, I don't think, for that to happen. But it is something you can do. I've done it in single-player games. It looks like Assyria is going to forget about the scout, which will be nice. That'll be a treat for Egypt. Unless they're just waiting for the timer to go all the way down. All right, we are coming up for some clearing. We didn't bring this guy on an adventure with us. You could send him into these woods, though. We're building another settler, which is nice. Building a Zoro, another Zoro. Yeah, so the settler will catch up in expansion with Moroten. And I think, honestly, even though we're dealing with mostly spears down here, I don't think any of the Assyrian axes are in the correct position. So I have to suspect Egypt is in a fine position to take the majority of this territory down here. Egypt will probably secure the central site. They do have a scout there as well. So nice map control from the Egyptians. Interesting that Assyria... I'm really surprised Assyria never pressured this location, considering just the dominance they have in this region. But Egypt can see the raid, too, by the way. Really, really great vision on the Egyptian side. It looks like we... No, we didn't lose a unit. We're just in the woods. Okay. We're building another settler, which is nice. Building another scout, which is nice. We'll need that. Probably wouldn't want to see that coming out of the champion seat, though, to be honest. You could build that from here just fine. Yeah, look at this. You'd lose one turn. This scout can be out in 4 turns, and you can just keep building military units from the champ seat, which is kind of what you want to do. Not the end of the world, though. Getting elephants online. Where are we on the tech tree? Navigation. So land consolidation is a little bit of ways away. Oh boy. Alright, making... This should be pretty easy to clear. I would like to see Heckler get grabbed here. Heckler is going to be really good against generals. Heckler is such a nice promotion to grab. Nice, and we are... Oh my god, that's awesome. And it looks like Egypt... Alright, so we have... Veneration. Yeah, alright, so Assyria is content to spread the Egyptian religion to their empire. That's so neat. And they're benefiting from that veneration, which isn't really going to do much right now, but it will be a reduced rebel chance in the future if we run into rebel issues. Of course, more gold for monasteries is another thing that it can do. And then, if Egypt decides to adopt something fun like dualism or revelation, then the Assyrians will eventually benefit from that as well. That is really fascinating to me. And, amusingly enough, the Egyptians don't hate us. The Egyptian patriarchs doesn't really hate us. It's only a negative 40 opinion to be at war with somebody. I wonder if this goes up as you attack each other, though. I'm not sure. All right, one more turn. One more opportunity to move our scout around. See if we can remember. Be curious to see if we manage to save the scout. All right, we're over in Egypt. We have forestry. We have free archer up, or monasticism, or composite bow. I think composite bow would be the right grab here. Maybe monasticism, but probably comp bow. We went monasticism. Okay, don't hate it, but I think I'd prefer comp bow, especially because that ballast is going to be nice. Yeah. What do we have for wonders? I don't think I've ever checked that. All right, so in this game, we have the pyramids, wow, which has not been grabbed yet in 56 turns. That's pretty wild. The ziggurat is another good grab to grab early. The Yaz, would love to see the Yaz. If Assyria grabbed the Yazakalaya, that would be awesome. Just because they're already benefit from the Egyptian religion and they'd benefit even more. Ditto for the Jebel, that would be fun too. The Mausoleum is in the game, the Chthon is in the game, and of course we have the full spectrum of good legendary wonders. We have Colosseum, Heliopolis, Via Recta, and Pantheon. So, plenty of interesting options there. I think... Did we get... Oh, we never sold the money for Misathoria, or however you say it. I suspect Assyria wins the legendary race with this city. Let's see. Highest culture in Egypt right now is 12 per turn. Highest culture in Assyria is 28. Because we have 2 trappers and they're getting double buffed. Well, actually, it would be a third one in the city, right? Yeah. With all this culture coming in. So this will get legendary first. I suspect this will be the first legendary city in the map. Plenty of terrain for the Colosseum. And then we could do some similar cheeky tile swapping to try and get down here to put a Heliopolis out from this legendary city. Egyptian pasture, 2 years done. 2 years until it's done. 27 turns until strong culture. So we could be trying to do a 7-law timing. We need monasticism, and we need rhetoric. Is that it? We need monasticism, rhetoric, and sovereignty. So that's not a bad grab. That's not hard to do. Monasticism would take the longest of all of that. And rhetoric and sovereignty are both good grabs. Get administration coming up. That's fine. Yeah, so, okay. I understand monasticism over composite bow here. Still think I would go composite bow personally, but monasticism does make sense. I think that would get us within a decent time frame of getting our 8th strength unique unit. And the Mounted Lancer is just a nightmare to deal with. All right, all right. interesting. We're getting a master poet here. That seems a bit like a waste. This is a 5-turn build queue, so this is your net yield, right? You're basically spending 5 turns worth of build queue to get this. And for those of you who can't see this, because you're on a phone or whatever, it's 0.6 civics, 1.5 culture, and just about 1 science, 0.9 science. So, this is one of the reasons why I actually think things like projects are good, right? Like, you'd actually get more civics if you built a forum, and it would be... He can't build a forum. For the record, he cannot build a forum, but you'd actually make more civics if you built a forum. You get refunded for the cost of the forum, and then by the time you're done with your forum, your theater is done, and then you can spend 5 turns building a master poet, but it will be a new poet which will give you the full yield of the master poet. So it will be 3 science, 4 culture, etc., etc. So, yeah. I think it's a bit of a trap to try to upgrade specialists manually unless you can rush them. Apprentices, pretty much apprentices and new specialists are almost always better than upgrading a specialist. Exceptions to that are the doctor and the monk. The monks and the doctors are, they do offer immediate value from upgrading themselves. Everything else, much more situational to make work. Poets can work, if you had a bunch of citizens here, that would be different, because 1 poet would be worth, like, 1 master poet. If this was like 8 citizens, it would be worth 4 civics, so that changes the math a little bit. Settler, scout, hunt. Interesting that we're building hunt. Maybe we want to make sure that we get more settlers out. We're still in expansion mode, perhaps? Question mark. It does look like we saved our scout, which is nice to see. Really nice to see. All right, that concludes the order spending for Assyria. Let's hop back. Oh, all right, so there's like a sizable orders difference between these two guys. There's 29 orders to 13, plus or minus worker turns. There's 6 worker orders being spent in Egypt, so that's about 35 orders total, compared to Assyria spending 5. Yeah, so it's about 35. It's about 36 orders to 21 orders. That is a massive difference. Another reason why I'd love to see some aggression. And fixating on that power spike. Of course, it's hard to predict that. Like, again, you cannot know. You're making assumptions. But yeah, orders at Egypt's in a very, very good position. Well, that's actually another assumption you can make, right? You can look at your opponent's laws, right? They can see slavery, they can see centralization. So at this point, you should be able to intuit, especially since you can see this border anyway, so you can definitely intuit that your opponent did not bring in divine rule. So there was a point right now, Assyria still does not have serfdom. So there has been a point where Egypt has known that they've had at least 8 more orders than their opponent, because they have 4 from divine rule, and they have 9. They have 5 from serfdom. So for a certain amount of time in this game, Egypt has been sitting with 9 more orders than their opponent, and hasn't tried to pressure that. And that's one of the reasons why really, really important to take advantage of rushing out units when you have the availability to do that, because there could have been a couple of light chariots out in the open here with a 15 order advantage against your opponent. Not a situation they would like to be in. 8 turns on monasticism for the Egyptians. And we're doing some more clearing, which is nice to see. So I suspect, yeah, I really suspect most of this map will go... Oh, did we lose somebody? Yeah, we lost a scout out in the open, which is a bit unfortunate. Okay, the flood in Assyria. I feel like Assyria has been getting most of the calamities here. There's been an earthquake already. There was a flood. There was a fire over here. But I feel like there has been one more that has hit Assyria. At least an earthquake and a flood. Fires don't really do much. All right, 1 turn left on navigation for the Assyrians. Ooh, we can get 200 food, which is fantastic. We have swapped away from hunt. Probably because the Egyptians are now similar to us when they were weaker. We can found a world religion as a ambition. I mean, that would just require building 2 pastures, but we don't have husbandry. And wow, we took the opinion hit with the Adasi. I would. Blaj does not seem to be fond of selling his resources for event outcomes. The champions are now grumpy with us. We're going to need to marry into the family at some point. Maybe our daughter can marry into them. Ooh, we do have a zealot on the throne for the Egyptians. Very nice to see. Very nice to see. Ooh. Yep, still building festivals, and we have that that citizen now. So now we can go ahead and build a poet. And this is more what this is actually a good example of what I'm talking about. So this fresh poet, right, is going to be 4 culture and 3 science, right? Compared to this upgraded poet, which is going to be just 1.5 culture and 9 science comparatively. So you have a sizable difference between these two. Why isn't this working? Yeah, sizable difference. Over double. So building a new master as opposed to upgrading the old master is over double the output. So I would rather spend these 4 or 5 years, these 5 years, on something different. Those 5 years could have gotten me a scout, a Zoroastrian disciple, close enough to another worker. It could have gotten me a treasury. It could have gotten me another festival, making sure that my growth is moving along even further for the next specialist that I want to build. So even the festival is good. Or to be frank, honestly, even just another, even just running council for 5 turns, I'd rather that. Walls, whatever. You know, I don't really like to build walls. Or a slinger, you know. Put 5 turns into a slinger, so you're 3 turns away from another slinger. I don't really spend too much time upgrading my specialists, if I'm being honest. Right, we do have a new settler arriving in Egypt. And any others on the way just yet? And our horses are finished. So, we should be able to build 6-turn light chariots. Yes, we can. Very nice to see. What I would like to see some landowner stuff doing is also buying these tiles down to this iron, though. No reason not to do that. No reason not to buy down to this iron, which is, again, another flexibility of this type of faction. That type of family. Do we have any good governors? Not really. Put the diplomat in here and try to bring these apprentice officers out in 4 turn each. $35 orders, yeah. Really, really nice. Building a garrison in Key now. Keys. Spreading our religion to Keys, very nice. 14 turns till we can build our mounted lancers from there as well. Be able to force march out to here next turn if we want. Settle the city. Be curious where we'll get our next settlers out. 6 turns in the capital, but we might want to be doing something else with that. Probably bring them from Tamiat. Now we're doing a worker here. What about... I love this, by the way. This is just great. Just no shame, right? And the other thing, the reason why you'll see me do this with quarries, most especially, not even just out in the open, but also one of the reasons why I do it out in the open is the other thing is think of the order efficiency of this. It's literally just 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, right? He's not saying, oh, I'll go over here and I'll build a farm. He's literally just farm. And his food output is really, really good. He's also farming all around these rivers, which makes sense. So really like, and he's going to need that food for his unique unit, which is a really nice unit anyway, but also it's just nice to have in general in case he needs to sell it. And we forgot the best part about this, hopping back over, both landowners. So all of this is generating income. You get a net positive on these yields. For basically they're maintenance free. Not even maintenance free. They generate more income than the maintenance it takes to pay for them, which is awesome. Go back to Assyria. We can probably kill this guy, maybe. Yeah, we can kill this guy. Clearing up this camp as well. Definitely have it. 1 turn away from a settler here. We do have a rebel. Oh, yeah, because now we have our angry guys. So the other calculation to factor in if you do the 1 city thing is a -40 for fewest cities. So currently we have 180 negative opinion for only having the 1 city, right? But still, if we compare that to the hunters who have way more cities, their negative opinion from city stuff is 280. So let's go over that one more time. It's 40 for fewest cities, 60 for envy, so that's 100, 80 for discontent, that's 180. compared to a very well sprawled family with multiple cities. They have 4 cities, right? The opinion that the hunters are battling is negative 280 for their discontent. Now, they do get plus 40 of that back for having the most cities, so it's really about 240 opinion from the discontent. So you're looking at a difference between just the one city versus the 4 cities. You're looking at a difference of opinion of only about, what's that, 60 opinion? 60 negative, and it's the family with the more cities that actually is dealing with a bigger deficit. So you can definitely, I call it doing one and done. You just settle one city from a particular family type. Patrons is a good example of one that you can get away with that because you never deal with discontent in the capital. What's another one that I will do? Artisans. You might not always need a bunch of artisan cities, so you can just one and done your artisans. You can one and done your champions. One and done your patrons. And I think that's mostly it. I think everybody else you tend to want to spread around if you can. Traders, actually, traders. If you only have one good trader spot in the map, like, maybe there was a really good trader spot up here and that's it, and you're going to bring traders into the game, you could bring traders in and then just one and done your traders. You don't need to keep spamming trader cities off across the rest of the map if it's not going to do anything for you. Just tank the envy, tank the discontent there, and make it up make up the opinion in a different manner. Basically what I'm saying is that the rising spread of discontent across multiple cities is greater than or equal to most of what you'll get from envy and the fewest cities and the singular discontent from one city. Not always, that's not a universal truth, but most of the time it will be having more cities will be a greater or equal burden to overcome. I apologize if that's like the 3rd time I've gone over that in this match. I feel like it is. Worker down south, ready to settle over here. I suspect we'll bring in another hunters, maybe landowners down here. Building a rancher. Interesting. Are we going for Judaism? Are we going for multiple religions? I suspect we are. Is that our first rancher? Looks like it. Where would our second rancher be? Over here in the capital? We can do a rancher next. Oh yeah, and we'd get this coast. That'd be so great. I hope we put a rancher here. That's going to be delightful. We'll found Judaism. We'll claim more territory. I think it's. I cannot understand why Blaj. You don't want to do it now because there's too much posture in the area. But 20 turns ago, I have no idea why Blaj didn't take and settle this city, and have a nice juicy front line up here. How long have we been rolling now? We've been rolling for just over 2 hours. Don't know how long our players are going. And I like that we're building roads along here. Looks like we're thinking about road networks, which is good. Have roads here. Are we fully connected? We are fully connected everywhere except here. So maybe this pops over here real quick. Builds a road. It can always be very easy to forget that you have to do that because you think, oh, I'm going to go over here and get myself a quick farm. And Moroten needs to end here. That's fine. So we've just had a slow build-up match. No big deal. Such is life in Old World. No heavy conflict this round. A little bit of early incursion from the Assyrians into Taramu once again to kind of slow down and deny the construction of these garrisons and strongholds. They did kill a couple of units. We're still looking at a death toll for the Egyptians. 13 units now to 3 in favor of the Assyrians. That's 13 dead Egyptians and only 3 dead Assyrians. But Egypt's looking pretty good. at this rate. Let's take a look. Final recaps of science. Neck and neck in science, pretty much on all accounts. 46 to the Egyptians, 44 to Assyrians, with 1,400 invested in the tech tree for both of them. The big win here for Egypt is they have a much higher and consistent order rate for the match. Their military score is also neck and neck. Egypt is about to start taking a lead as they bring in their 6 strength unique unit. They do have 4 laws, and Assyria is still sitting at 3 laws. Egypt is expanding into the southern valley. Assyria is already down here, but Egypt should, I fully expect Egypt to take the center for themselves. And then this will create 2 possible fronts for both of our players, one in the north and one in the south. Big win and highlight for me in this match was the long snaking of the borders from Waset all the way out to give him another option, another location to build his unique unit from. And now this is something that the Assyrians just cannot take. Even if they were to invade this city and take this from them, they would need to come up here and pillage this at some point, because this border will remain in the capital for the rest of the game. So if you've been with us live, I appreciate you being here. Still a handful of you in the chat. I hope you enjoy this game. A little bit of a chiller vibe, chiller atmosphere. We have 84 legitimacy for the Egyptians and 85 for the Assyrians. Political situations in both nations are all right. Well, actually, yeah, pretty okay. Although Assyria is dealing with grumpy champions. Grumpy champions they'll have to take care of at some point. Yeah, so anyway, thanks for joining us live. If you're here after the fact, I appreciate you being here. Please give us a like, subscribe, leave a comment. Go around, check out all the other content creators, subscribe to them as well. I'm Siontific. This is the Old World 2025 Community Tournament. Thanks for watching.